All right, so we're live. American Leeds podcast. Alex Simon, Michael Maynard, aka Lee, on.
Oh, we're having some technical difficulties. You seem to have frozen up there, Alex.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Did we go? Did we go blank there? That was wild.
We didn't go blank, but you froze, and
I
your
froze.
voice. You went all robot voice on me for a moment there.
Robot. Yikes.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. Well, I think we're live again
your
now.
your true identity was being revealed. No,
Can you see me?
I can see you. You're
Okay.
moving.
All right.
You're
All
moving.
right. Cool. I've got some visuals too. Let me cue those up. But yeah, Michael, how's it going?
Good. Yeah, it's going all right. Thanks. I'm over. I'm over it. I'm over it.
Over the window?
No, I'll be over. I'll be totally over it after I get a few things off my chest. Then I'll be over it. I'm almost over it. I
Yeah.
was fibbing a little bit when I said I was over it. I'm not quite over
Well, at
it.
least you're being honest.
Yeah.
Um, I am somewhat over it as well. Um, you know, well, it's done, and there's nothing really that you can do about it. So the focus now belongs to. I mean, really, not much you can do about it. The focus belongs to the backroom staff and Jesse Marsch and his staff and getting that right.
Yeah.
Do I think that Dan James being on our roster or squad is going to make the difference between us staying or being relegated? Well, if it's that close, then you know what I mean. We've made some disappointments, but ideally not the best way to end a transfer window,
No.
in my opinion.
No, I agree with that. And Zach here in the comments is on the same page, saying he's not quite over it yet as well, but on to the next. And that's sort of the
Yeah.
I think that's the posture we have to adopt at this point, because we can stew about it all we want, and I think we should cover it, tonight in our discussion. But at the end of the day, we have to just get back to supporting, and not to be a sort of a happy clapper or whatever, because I do have my criticisms of the board, and I will continue to voice those as long as they continue to make the same mistakes. But like you said, there's not much we can do about it right now. And hopefully we can get back to winning ways now that's behind us. We know what the squad is. We just have to make do with what we've got now, despite the several deficiencies.
Yeah. And we'll get into that as well. So, I mean, do you have anything to add on that front? I'm just, like I said, I think we're on the same page. There's some deficiencies. They are. I mean, year over year, I feel like the roster is overall stronger, but not by much, not by leaps and bounds like we would have liked. But I feel like as far as depth, we're in a better position. And I think, as you said, private message or direct message me. The net, I think you said the net spend is, atrocious. We're practically zero. I think they made 10 million with transfers and sales, which is okay to do, but again, off of a 17th place finish is not the best thing you want to hear. You want to see investment. You want to see them taking risks, and this just seems like it's a risk, but it's a risk in the wrong direction.
Yeah, I think the floor of the squad is higher than it was. We have holes in the squad, mostly down to quality, less so down to just not having the players. I mean, if we look, we actually have senior players on the bench now, intermixed with some younger players, and some of the younger players are now they're sort of on the cusp of becoming senior players, in the sense of that they are getting more experience now, which is obviously positive. So it's not quite the disaster at this point in time that we were looking at last year, when we were filling out our bench with, children that really were of a perhaps even League One standard in some cases, coming in to fill in for roles. We are putting senior players in positions. We are able to at least have Pascal Struijk playing at left back, even though it's not ideal, particularly because of the knock-on effect it creates across the back line with having to play Diego Llorente at all, one, but at left center back too, which is just not, it's just not going to work. And I think, that's kind of somewhat on the coach. Like, he's got to know that that's not going to work, and maybe he's got to change things up a little bit. It's clearly not working with that. The last match was not the first time that we've had that issue with him. And there's a historical record there. Even the fans from the club where he came from, sort of all said the same thing, right? That he was fine if he's playing at the right center back slot, but you put him on the other side, and all of a sudden he's, passing to wrong feet. He's getting wrong footed himself. He doesn't know how to defend going backwards. All kinds of problems. He just gets he's awkward anyway, but he gets really awkward when he's playing on the left side of a center back pairing. Some players just can't do that. They're just not flexible enough to be able to do that, and he can't. And, the fact that we didn't get the left back that we so desperately needed, that's the result, is that Llorente is now the person playing in that role that he's just not suited to playing. The sooner we get Cooper back, the better. I think Marsch has sort of alluded to that already, that when Cooper comes back, I'm guessing Llorente's out because Koch is actually playing pretty well, aside from the fact that he's having to try to cover for having a bomb scare beside him, which makes things difficult and awkward for him as well. But he's been pretty good for the most part. And Llorente just really hasn't been. He has moments. He has moments where he'll make sort of a last ditch hero tackle, which is usually risky. And the reason why it's a hero tackle is because it's, could be, a millimeter from going wrong, and has gone wrong in certain circumstances before. So, he's an odd duck that way, because sometimes he does things that you're like, wow, that was ballsy. I can't believe you did that and actually pulled it off. Great. But that doesn't make up for just the basic errors that lead to really good chances and ultimately goals. And we saw that a lot. It really just came apart for him at Brentford. So that's something that we need to address. And the sooner Cooper can get back, the better. Or Marsch needs to find something else, another system.
He was so poor, and we'll go through it. I've actually got some screenshots of the game.
Yep.
I want to digress a little bit to. I did two controversial videos. I didn't know they would be controversial at the time. I did a Rads Out video, and I got some interesting feedback. I'd love to kind of just share some of the comments, but I won't go into it too much. Also, kudos to British insults. They're very creative. They're very, I can't help but laugh at them. They're just on another level. And
my favorite is turning food into an insult, like calling someone a turnip or whatever. Like those,
yeah,
great. I love that.
Oh my God, the insults were so good.
Yeah.
Rats now, yeah, like it's Zach. So I did say, look, I don't mean it. I am grateful for Rad Razzani and his ability to get us promoted. He certainly formalized the club. And he got Marcelo Bielsa. I mean, he recruited Marcelo Bielsa.
Yep.
He is an entrepreneur. He's done things that I will never do, and he's a super admirable person. Comes from humble means, from what I can tell, in Italy, and I just think he's a very admirable character. However, his behavior on the transfer window was I'll just say disappointing, and I'll also say that the policy that came to light that you and I kind of both saw as like to sell one to get one, which is okay, but it seems like it's penny pitching, and this league is so expensive. It's the most expensive league to compete in the world.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying how dare you, Rad Razzani, do this to my club. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying eventually the time will come that if we want to get to the next level, which is probably mid-table consistency, getting beyond maybe a little bit of Moneyball plus a little risk, Rad Razzani will probably not be the owner. That's really all I'm saying. And so it was a little bit of clickbait, and I think people got a little bit fired up about it, which is cool. too, because Leeds is a passionate fan base. But yeah, I think you're on the same page with me. I just don't think Radrizzani is going to be the owner that this club needs in order to get to that mid-table, challenging for Europe level. What do you think?
Well, it's a situation, I think, where his reach is exceeding his grasp, right? So he has these aspirations for the team to be mid-table. He wants to put in place all these things for us to be able to achieve that, but we just can't afford it. And unfortunately, in this league, if you're standing still, you're going backwards. Now, I'm not saying we stood still this season. We obviously sold 2 marquee players who arguably weren't the best for the system we're trying to play under this coach anyway, to say nothing of their quality as players. Phillips, obviously, Rafinha are amazing players, but maybe they didn't quite fit what we were doing anyway. So are we going to feel their loss sort of as keenly as maybe we would have under Bielsa? Like if we had lost them while Bielsa was still the manager, that would have been a different story. The way things are now, I don't think we're going to feel their loss as badly as we would. And we've reinvested them in some key areas where we were absolutely short, but it only went so far and it didn't go far enough. We can't stretch the money any further without investment. The investment obviously isn't there except for in very, very specific circumstances. If you're going with the Radrizzani line of saying, Charlie de Ketelaere was our very special player. He was the special signing that we wanted to go and get. And we would only really push the boat out for a player like that, which to me says we will only go and get a player if we know we can double our money by selling him in 2 years. Right? Because that's all they can do. And how is the financing for that going to happen anyway? Well, to me, certainly there may have been some co-equals like shareholder investment if in fact the 49ers and Radrizzani were on the same page about that, which there's no knowing for sure whether or not they are entirely. But for me, again, I've said this before, it seems to me, and I've sort of heard some fairly believable rumors that it would have required more sales. We saw that the a lot of heat and light being generated around the potential sale of Jack Harrison around the same time as we were linked with de Ketelaere. Harrison himself, when he was asked about it in Australia, didn't seem all that certain about his future. He certainly didn't say anything that's, was very indicative of him certainly being around. So to me, I think there's no smoke without fire. I think that was probably something that was going to happen, that if we were going to get de Ketelaere, Jack Harrison would have been the one to go. And then, of course, we ended up moving Dan James on, which was in itself a very peculiar situation because it certainly didn't seem like you'd need to move him out to bring in a £4 million-ish player, like to move him out on loan. It's a very bizarre set of circumstances. And yeah, to me, it's just indicative of the fact that as a club, we are now starting to exceed the grasp of our owner to be able to keep us competitive. And we're going to start seeing ourselves slipping back down and being embroiled into, I'm not saying that we are going to be in a relegation fight this year, but I'm saying it's going to be close. This isn't going to be an easy whiz of a season, not like our first season back. I think things are going to be tight and we're going to be looking over our shoulder, probably more than a club of our size should. At our third year back.
April and May, I think it's going to be,
in our third year back, I want to see more progress.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that. And it looks like Tom here has some PTSD from 04 and 7 and kind of the overspending. I remember the Gier talked about the goldfish tanks that were worth more than the players, and that there's kind of a cautious philosophy.
Yeah.
But I think that to me, if you were to go in on CDK and be like, okay, we got falling in love. Am I still there?
You are now. You froze for a minute, but yeah.
Apologies, everyone, I might freeze. But this kind of falling in love with certain players that you definitely see, like there's definitely an organizational these are the hottest girls at the dance. And if it's not them, then we pack up and go. It's like, that's not the right philosophy. I think you should just be like, okay, are we going to commit this pool of money? Okay, and then let's do it. And then, like, here's the list of players, and it needs to be a little bit more expansive than, well, for CDK it's 30 to 35, and then for I can't remember. They went down the list, and it was like the deadline day. Cody Gakpo was another one, and it was just like we were left at the altar. That's really what was. We had like 3 bridesmaids, and we were left at the altar. The gentleman from was it Nice or I'm forgetting
went to Nice. Went to Nice from Marseille.
Wanted to go to Nice from Marseille. Yes.
Yeah.
So it was just like,
tried to go to Nice and then failed the medical, but yeah.
Right.
Picked Nice and then it fell through.
Yeah, so that's my kind of like, just if we're going in, go, commit the money, do it, rather than this. Oh, we can't. So that's my, I guess, qualm too with that philosophy, I guess.
I want to go back to Tom's comment in the comments there, and just being glad that the club is careful with money. I wholeheartedly endorse that. I agree with it completely. The difficulty that I have with it, Tom, is that you do need to take some measured risk. It seems like we didn't really this season. I guess we'll find out more when the accounts come out, but there are different ways to measure risk. I mean, I think going out and spunking loads and loads of cash on all sorts of players in the way that Nottingham Forest have done this season, for example, or the way that we did, before things really went sour for us, bringing in players that we didn't need, like Seth Johnson and Robbie Fowler and others that just simply we didn't need back then. That's not appropriate. Obviously, it wasn't appropriate then. It didn't work out then. It was not a good idea then. It wasn't business smart at that point in time. It wasn't even smart for what we needed on the pitch at that point in time. And it wouldn't be smart now to do stuff like that either. But the problem is that we do have some glaring holes, and we just don't have any ability to get them. Like when we talk about them going in for someone like Charlie de Ketelara, and Roger Zani going on and on about how he was the very special player. He was the one they wanted to push the boat out for. I understand why. One, it was his quality, obviously, on the pitch. He's transformational. He's, a player. But the big part that I'm hearing there is that it's a business decision. And of course, business has to be part of it. It absolutely does. But what that tells me, the underlying issue there, is that we're only going to spend money if we can make more back, if we can make profit. And that's sort of where we are right now.
Correct.
That's fine. If that's where we are right now, that's where we are. But the club needs to, one, be honest with the fans about it, because they've been stringing us along and gaslighting us about signing these players and not really telling us the situation at all. So there is a lack of honesty there that I really don't appreciate. And I think a lot of people are pretty ticked off about it. The other thing too is that eventually, and this was to Alex's point in one of his very controversial, which was not a Rad's out. I don't think anyone here is Rad's out. Like, we got to kick him out of the club. We're saying is, like, first of all, be honest with us. I mean, we'll get to that point if you're, if you're being a son of a bitch and not really telling us what's going on with our club. But
or if the club is
out, it was just that, look, the natural growth of things is such that the club is going to exceed eventually Rad's ability to keep it afloat.
Yeah,
that's it. There's only so far, unless he comes into a windfall of money and is able to suddenly invest more, which doesn't seem to be the case at this point in time. We're going to outgrow him as an owner. And maybe that's just going to happen naturally because the 49ers have something in place already to take over by 2024. And this is all in the works and whatever. But it's concerning that the lack of communication, the lack of clear communication, and the fact that in program notes and statements and everything else, mostly what we hear is total bullshit. Right. And I understand to a certain point, they got to protect the asset and they can't just open it up and show everybody everything. But it seems like they're really trying to be deceptive about a lot of this stuff with the fan base. And that's the part that really irks me about it.
Yeah. Yeah. You just look at the net worth of some of these owners. I mean, they're just in another class of wealth than Brad Rosani. And you have to go negative a little bit to really to then make more money in the Premier League. And I don't know if he's ready. It looks like I don't know if he's ready to do that. And, the next kind of topic is, comment that somebody would say, well, what about the 49ers? They own 44%, but they still don't have the majority ownership. So they still don't have the rights to invest and make some of these investments. I want to talk to the next kind of controversial thing I put out there. I won't say but I said I didn't have a problem with Jesse Marsch and his touchline antics. And in reflection, I thought maybe there was a cultural difference as well. Like he's an American coach, and I talked about you're a fan of the Blue Jays, the baseball team. I love baseball as well.
John Schneider got tossed last night.
Did he? Yeah, I mean, it's common. It's common. It's like, know, and everybody gets up as soon as the manager starts. We know it's on. Yeah. And maybe it's a little bit of like WWE, kind of, theater.
Yeah.
But obviously this is football. This is a different world. But and it doesn't happen. I will say it doesn't happen in American football. This kind of like they do chew the ref's ear, but they don't, get kicked out of games or get. I mean, it takes a lot to get suspended for a game in American football. And fights don't break out that often, skirmishes. But yeah, so just your thoughts on Jesse Marsch's touchline. What do you like it? Do you not like it? Does it need to be reined in a bit? What do you think?
So I like the fire. I like the passion. I know Phil Hay sort of used the term this week about being performative. It is. It is. Absolutely it is. It is part of the culture in American sports to do that, for managers to do that. Not in all sports, obviously, but you do see it. You see it in basketball sometimes. You certainly see it in baseball all the time. It's really just part of baseball culture is managers getting tossed. I am a fan of the Blue Jays, as you mentioned, and one of our former managers, John Gibbons, was famous for getting tossed. That guy, he used to get tossed like 20 or 30 times a season. Like it was unreal. He was always getting tossed. And like I said, John Schneider, our interim manager, who's in right now, got tossed last night against Baltimore after there was a bench clearing, almost brawl, and a bunch of other stuff going on in that fiery game. Based on historic AL East rivalries and current position in the AL East table and stuff. But yeah, it's part of it, and Jesse would know that. He will have grown up around that kind of culture. He's a fiery guy anyway. He always was on the pitch as well. I don't have an issue with it, except to the extent that it may end up becoming a parody of itself if it happens too often. There are hills to die on, and then there are hills not to die on. And at this point now, he's getting a reputation. So I think it would be, I don't necessarily have an issue with what he's done. I think it would be wise for him to rein it in for a while and only lose his shit when he absolutely has to, because otherwise this could be like, oh yeah, well, there he goes again. It's like the boy who cried wolf kind of thing, right? People stop listening to it. So to make it impactful and meaningful, you got to do it when it really counts. I think, for the record, what happened at Brentford was a good time to do it, but maybe previously it wasn't quite as necessary because it kind of took away from the fact that he did. It's like, oh, here he goes again. And that's what you don't want. If you end up becoming a parody of yourself, or if you end up sort of everyone just sort of ignoring it because they're just used, oh, that's just Jesse going off again. He doesn't have the same respect and cachet that someone like Klopp or whatever. And a lot of those comparisons came out. Well, Klopp can do it. He does it all the time. Look at Arteta. He didn't spend almost any time during that match in his technical area. Yeah, but they've been around longer. One, either as players or as coaches. Arteta certainly as a player more so. He's only been a manager at Arsenal for a few years now. Klopp has been there and done it. He's been manager for a long time. I'm not making excuses, but there are going to be allowances for this. And there's also going to be, as we know, it's not fair, but it is what it is. There's going to be some top six bias, and there's going to be some anti-American bias. We know this. That's one of the risks of having Jesse Marsch at our club as the manager. It's one of the risks of having American players. For my part, I'm perfectly happy with this situation, but we have to acknowledge that I think it's going to happen. I think there are going to be some cases where they maybe get picked on a little bit, and you've seen it with Tyler Adams too. Like, he does not put up with stuff on the pitch. He gets yippy with people, including the referee. And I think there's going to be a little bit of an attitude of putting the Yank back in their place. I don't know that that's the case, but I suspect that it is.
Yeah, I wanted to. Do you hear me?
Yep.
Michael, sorry about everyone for the Wi-Fi. I don't know what's happening. It should be a little bit stronger than it is. I wanted to see if I could present this here. Can you see the screen, Mike?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the famous. This is where, I mean, I know he's not Klopp, but
yeah,
if Marcelo stepped in here to this whole situation, who knows if it would have been a red card, but Marcelo was a purist. I love Marcelo Bielsa. I love Marcelo Bielsa ball. He got us freaking promoted. I'm never saying, bad things about him. He's just different. Jesse Marsch is a different manager. And this is a scenario where Jesse probably would have stuck his nose in a little bit more. And it's one of the reasons why I really don't like Liverpool, because this particular situation, we've drawn 2 games. We're about to lose our 4th game, lose 2. We lost to, obviously, the opener, and then this would have been our 2nd loss. But we were already in an injury crisis, like right here, and he kicked out our center back. We were in like a dire situation. Yep. What Klopp did here, and it was just like he just sucks. I don't like him. But here he is. He's right. The injury just happened. They stopped the play.
And no whistle for a foul at this point, by the way.
No whistle for a foul at all. And he's right in the ref's ear, lobbying for Pascal to get a red. Here he is following the referee around, touching him in his ear, and he's about to go. He starts following him back. Here's Marcelo, just kind of observing everything. And here's the players going, what the hell's going on? The red just happened. I love Origi. Origi's going, this is harsh. Because it's true. But like Jesse in this situation, I think would have stepped in. And it's the players that are in the referees ear going, what the hell happened? What is going on? Like, I can't believe you're kicking out. Because Pascal's not only gone for this game, we're down to 10 men. He's gone for 3 more games after this. This started our season off in such a this particular game, and Jurgen Klopp's behavior, who I don't like, who probably should have gotten a red for this. Klopp should have gotten a red.
Absolutely.
But anyways, I digress. And this really started the kind of the snowball of the season. But it's Klopp.
It's when things went from bad to worse, right?
He got away with it went from bad to oh my God, when are we going to get points? We have no center back. We're at this completely difficult situation. I believe maybe it was West Ham, and then Cresswell stepped up, did a great game. Anyways, but this was the start of just something really bad. And I just think that Marcelo versus Jesse, I don't want to compare them, but at the same time, Jesse is he a tactical master that Marcelo is? No, he's not a tactical master. Absolutely not. But does he give things that Marcelo didn't? He gives, the ability to bend the ref's ear. He gives the ability to get more focused on set pieces, which Marcelo, again, was a purist of. And these type of things, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say hindsight's 2020, but I'm just saying that Jesse would have definitely probably stuck his nose into the ref's ear and lobbied for his player and his team at this point. And so I'm just saying, I guess I'm saying that Jesse, you started when we started this podcast a couple of weeks back, you always said you got to take the rough with the smooth. And this is something that I think, Jesse provides that Marcelo didn't. And then I think it's a good thing. I think that he's fights for his players, and it's he's passionate. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think he would certainly stick up for them in that case. And I don't think he would have stood for Klopp being on the pitch in the ref's ear in that way. I mean, I too obviously love Marcelo Bielsa, and I don't like to sort of continually go back and necessarily compare them because they both have their strengths and weaknesses. I agree that Marsch probably would have handled this just looking at Jesse Marsch. I think he would have handled the situation differently. Whether it would have resulted in something different, I really can't say. But I do like that aspect about Jesse, which is he will fight his corner and he will fight for his players and he will stand up for them. And he will not bow down, to referees, and he will call people out. And I think some of that needs to be done sometimes. I don't think it needs to be done all the time. And like I said, I think he needs to be careful and to do it a little bit more selectively, probably, because he will be viewed as an outsider coming in and trying to stamp his Yankee authority over everything. And just sort of knowing the way, being Canadian and being also British myself, I sort of understand that there is a reputation there and a stereotype of Americans coming in and sort of being, loud and brash and telling other people how it is and whatever. And, regardless of the truth of that kind of a statement or that sort of sentiment, that is the prevailing reality that he's going to have to navigate as the manager. And I think based on some of the statements that he's made, he's well aware of it and he faces it all the time. So now he's going to have to, I think, guard himself a little bit against it, through his conduct and behavior, and sort of do a little bit to dispel that particular myth and show that he can be more than that. But at the same time, don't give up something that makes you who you are. And fighting his corner and being aggressive is who he is, and that I think is one of the good parts about him that will help provide, maybe some of the marginal gains that we need to make up for. Well, like you said, he's not quite the tactical master that someone like Bielsa is, but he does have his strengths of his own. I think that can certainly make a difference and make improvements and help the team in other ways. So, that's one of them. So it's just for Jesse, I don't think he should change who he is. I think he should be a little bit more tempered, perhaps. Maintain the fire, whatever, but just pick and choose his moments moving forward to make sure that he doesn't get unfairly labeled and stereotyped in a certain way.
I got we're moving this stream along pretty quickly. I got another 5, maybe 10 minutes. Got to rush back to the wife and get some stuff done tonight. But wanted to get your thoughts on some of the Brentford game. When I re-looked at the game, it didn't look that bad, actually, in looking it back. I mean, obviously, Diego Llorente had a shocker, but this was a nice ball that Aronson played in, I believe, to Bamford. Bamford is in here. It's a tough angle. Obviously, the shot goes near the touchline, the corner flag. Not ideal there. But, and obviously he doesn't see Aronson streaking back into the middle. If maybe the ball got into the central area, Aronson could have had a nice shot, an opportunity. But it just tells me that they're getting in the right positions and that there's, there was always a continuous threat, I think, going forward. And obviously if we didn't have the mistakes early, the 2 goals early were both dead balls at, a penalty and obviously a penalty outside of the box, a free kick, just a really incredible goal. Tip your cap kind of thing. But that kind of flopping in and around the box, I think, is going to continue to be an issue. The dark arts, it just always has been an issue our first 3 years of the Premier League. But the next 3 goals I'll go into, those are shocking. Those are the ones where we're like, wow. I'm just going to continue down this. The 3rd goal is the one that's kind of a shocker.
It's not coming up on my screen, just so you know.
I'm
not sure if others can see it, but
are you? You can't see it?
No.
I'm going to remove it. And is it just us now?
It's just us. Yeah.
I'm going to add it. Can you see it now?
It's a little circling, and no, it's still black.
No. Okay. Well, anyways, I'll remove it.
I don't know if the comments, maybe someone in the comments can let us know if the audience can see it.
Can you guys see it? Please.
The visual in the middle.
Message us in the live. There is a. See if I can.
There's a great conversation about the quality of Canadian women going on in the comments right now. Slightly off topic, but I must say I agree that there's a very high quality females here in Canada, high quality people in general. I know I'm married to one.
Can't see nothing, you glorious
Thank
people.
you for that.
Anything now? We can just talk about it if not. Nothing? Can you see anything, Mike?
No, it's just black.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah, it's black screen.
All right. Well,
People
anyway,
getting Canadian women owners. Yes, Canadian women are formidable. They're amazing.
Have
you not seen our women's soccer team? Come on.
The third goal is the one where it's basically the both our defenders miss. I have drama up and Cock missed the ball, and it squirms past the goal. Squirms past both of the defenders. It's basically a 50-50 ball. Somehow, Melier gets to it before the attacking player, and it goes obviously right to he's missing the striker for Brentford's
Ivan Toney.
Tony, who's the danger man on the pitch. He nutmegs Llorente in the process of going to the goal, but look, I mean, we played a high line. How can we do better in the transitioning moments? Because they did park the bus and they did basically hit us on the counter, which seems to be the method for attacking us is park the bus or hit in a block and then hit us on the counter. And we're a team that we want to counter press as well. So it's like, I don't know. What are your thoughts on not only Brentford, but the successive, the 3 games that we've had and the formula to beat Leeds and adjustments?
Well, there's an interesting trend that's emerging, Alex, and it's this. We're winning games that we have less possession and losing games where we have more possession. I don't know if that's universal yet, but I'm pretty sure the games that we won, both of them, we've had 40% or less. So against Wolves and against Chelsea, we had 40% or less possession. And in the games that we've lost, for example, against Brighton and against Brentford, we had significantly more possession. So what does that tell you about how we're performing? Well, it tells me that we, aren't very good on the ball. We're not great at scoring when we have possession. Our in possession system isn't working very well, and it's leaving us vulnerable. I think Alex just left us, so I'll just keep talking. Our in possession system isn't working very well, or maybe that's just how it's designed to be. But if it's designed to be that you're better out of possession and then counter pressing, which I think is the system, that is what it's meant to do. If the result of that is that you're not very good on the ball, then why are you playing in such a manner as to be dominating possession and then getting hit on the counter yourself? I mean, the whole point is you're trying to win a counter-pressing game, and yet you're losing because you're being counter-pressed and counter-attacked. So, yeah, it's difficult, to sort of square that circle. Alex, you're back. I've just been rambling on about counter-pressing.
I gotta go, everyone.
Yeah.
I appreciate everybody for joining us, but I think that the formula is out on beating Leeds. To your point, the one that keeps coming up is not only the counterattacks that happen, but it's the one where Brentford almost got a 6th, which was like this switch ball. It's like Alien is in no man's land. The right back or the left back is in no man's land, and it's going wide in the box to somebody. I mean, it keeps coming up even in preseason. We saw it last year with Brentford when they were down to 10 men, I believe, and they still managed to score a header. This kind of like switch ball, but it's kind of a narrower switch ball. It's not where they're switching the ball across the entire field. They're switching the ball in the box, and the right back is in no man's land. It's just like, I don't know what's happening there, but like everybody, we're all 6s and 7s. Like if there's a way, the center back feels obligated to come over. There's like an overload on the counter attack, and we're just very susceptible. And Melier, to his credit, clawed it away. I mean, he's had several hero saves this season, and just is like, if there's a way to get that Because the other goals, it's like Llorente got pressed. He's just having a shocker. The little squib ball in where Melier came out, that was poor defending, but also kind of a freak thing. Hopefully,
and Llorente not covering properly.
Llorente not covering properly. So the successive 3 goals after Ivan Toney's like incredible corner or incredible free kick, those are the goals that you're going, okay, these are cleaning up. But the goals where it's like this switch ball and it's wide open and we're so out of position going backwards. Those are that is concerning. And I don't know what the right answer is, but Jesse and the staff have to fix this.
They were either hitting us on the break or they were counter pressing us high, like the one where Llorente got robbed of the ball, right? Like he was caught in possession. It was just ridiculous. But yeah, they were applying pressure to the points where we struggle the most. And it is balls over the top. It is quick breaks against us. That's what we have to guard against. Mr. B raised a really good point here saying we're pressing too high and getting caught short at the back. And I agree with that. I think when our press stops working, we need to break back into a mid block or something to stop the ball getting through. But we also need to have players back further, at least 1 or 2 to cover. So that's sort of where I'm at with that. Alex is out. I'm going to head as well. Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in tonight, for listening, for your comments. We appreciate it. I know it's slightly shorter than